Are we living in a simulated universe? Brought to you by iNerd. Simulation theory. Simulation theory has been talked about a lot more frequently since 2003, even more so since 2012. It is not an entirely new theory, though. As early as 1940, it was suggested that the reality we perceive is nothing more than a simulation. It hasn't been until recently that we've discovered computer code, ones and zeros, in the equations that make up the physics for string theory. String theory is a cosmological theory based on the existence of cosmic strings. It proposes that within the tiniest molecules are vibrating strings that make our universe work. String theory is attempting to answer questions such as where did we come from, where did our world come from, and what is it all made of? What we do know is that a nucleus consists of protons and neutrons and electrons spinning around it. This is what ordinary matter is made up of. What makes up all that then? A proton, for example, a proton, electron, neutron, and nucleus are made up of quarks. String theory attempts to provide a complete, unified, and consistent description of the fundamental structure of our universe. For this reason, it is sometimes quite arrogantly called a theory of everything. According to nuclecu.unam.mx, what is string theory? String theory proposes that all those tiny particles are made up of two-dimensional vibrating strings. So protons, neutrons, and electrons and even the nucleus they surround are made up of tiny strings. It depends on how those strings vibrate that decide whether they are protons, neutrons, or electrons. The vibrations are too small for us to detect, so we see protons, neutrons, and electrons, and yes, nucleus. This means our entire universe is made up of these tiny strings. So where does simulation theory come into play in all this? Simulation theory was originally proposed by British philosopher Nick Bostrom in 2003. Since then, others have taken to simulation theory as a most likely case scenario to explain the existence of our universe. Most popularly, Elon Musk, founder of SpaceX, says there's a 1,000,000,000 to 1 chance we're living in base reality, meaning there's a 1 in a billion chance we are living in a simulation that a future civilization is running for one reason or another. Another famous scientist, Dr. James Gates Jr., discovered computer code in the physics that make up our universe. Literal ones and zeros. This isn't just any code, though. This is error-correcting code, which makes it even harder to ignore. According to Wolfram Math World, error-correcting code is an algorithm for expressing a sequence of numbers such that any errors which are introduced can be detected and corrected within certain limitations. Based on the remaining numbers, the study of error-correcting codes and the associated mathematics is known as coding theory. This type of code is used in things like modems, cell phones, and even credit cards. So to find this specific type of code in the equations that make up our universe goes a long way to suggest that we are indeed living in a simulation. Given the rate the number of transistors fit on a board doubles every 18 months, known as Moore's Law, computers are becoming insanely better and faster all the time. This, combined with many of the advancements in artificial intelligence, makes it difficult to deny that one day we could start running simulations of our own ancestors the same way we may very well be living in a simulation of our own. Since it is conceivably possible that we will one day run our own reality simulation, of our ancestors, we have to ask ourselves if we would be the first, or if we too already are living in a simulated universe. Many scientists who prescribe to simulation theory believe the latter is most likely. Why should we believe we would be the first to run these simulations? Leave a comment down below and let iNerd know what you think. Do you believe we are living in a simulation, or do you believe it's just a bunch of coincidences? If you like this episode of Simulation Theory, be sure to hit like and subscribe for notifications on future iNerd episodes. Thanks for joining me on iNerd. Till next time, nerd out.